Greenland. Now, after Venezuela, Trump is eyeing the acquisition of the autonomous territory of Greenland, which is, as of now, under the administration of Denmark. Trump's claims have been met with severe criticism from European Union leaders who say that this is going to severely affect the relations of the United States with the European leaders. And this, remind you viewers, is also a major crisis for NATO. As of now, Europe seems largely powerless to stop the US from its acquisition of Greenland, which is rich in its resources. For Europe, Donald Trump's return to the White House has been a bonfire of certainties. His administration's threat to annex Greenland has plunged NATO into an unprecedented situation. An alliance which was based on collective defense, where an attack on one is an attack on all, now faces the prospect that one member might attack another. In fact, if we are to take you through the statements that came from the White House from Tuesday, it said that the president is discussing a range of options to acquire Greenland, making clear that using the oil and the US military is not off the table. So if negotiations and dialogues do not proceed as Trump wants them to, the US might go on to use military force as it did in Venezuela, proclaiming the return to a world in which strong take what they can and the weak suffer what they must. Now, Trump's deputy chief of staff has also said that the US is a superpower and it's going to conduct itself as a superpower. That, viewers, is a very telling statement. Although Secretary of State Marco Rubio has tried to downplay concerns about a military intervention, saying that instead that the Trump administration is considering buying Greenland, which Denmark's Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen has sounded the alarm over. Trump administration now plans to buy off and pay off Greenlanders. However, many say that Greenlanders do not wish to accept that fund and those money from Donald Trump. In fact, and I want to invite my colleague Meher into the discussion here. Meher, these are a lot of developments that are taking place on Greenland, especially after US attack on Venezuela. Trump now eyeing Greenland. Do take us through some of the options that are on the table for Donald Trump.
Well, yes, Kriti, as you very rightly mentioned, Donald Trump, the US president, has now very swiftly shifted his focus from Venezuela after capturing their president Nicolas Maduro. He has now shifted his focus to Greenland, and very importantly, a deadline has been set by US President Donald Trump. As earlier, he was telling reporters that we will talk about the issue of Greenland in the next 20 days. Now he's suggested that the deadline for Denmark is to enter serious negotiations with the United States as US shifts its focus to the Arctic region. Now, US officials have reportedly discussed that they will be offering a lump sum payment of about $10,000 to about $100,000, which is a lot of money. They will be providing per person to the Greenlanders as a part of the plan to encourage the island moving forward. Now, US Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, she has explicitly stated that while the goal of United States is acquiring Greenland, the US can also utilize its military ways, and that option always remains open. Now, these are some strong statements that Caroline Leavitt has made. On the other hand, this has led to a lot of criticisms coming in from NATO and a lot of the European leaders and allies of Denmark. Now, the Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen has warned that any US move against Greenland would represent an attack by a NATO leader on a NATO member. Now, Trump argues that Greenland is a national security priority, and he's also claimed that the island is full of Chinese and Russian ships, and that Denmark lacks the military capacity to defend it. Now the question remains that why? Why is Trump eyeing Greenland all of a sudden? Now it's more about Denmark being a strategic jewel. Now, as the Arctic ice melts, new shipping lanes are opening that Russia and China want to control. Now, apart from this, Greenland is also very rich in its rare earth minerals. Greenland holds 25 of the 34 classified which are classified as critical by the European Union. Now, untapped oil, which the administration views as vital for the US energy dominance. Now, these are a few reasons why the United States is targeting and is trying to take over Greenland after Caracas. Now, 56,000 people are currently living in Greenland, out of which a lot of people want Greenland to be an independent state. Now, Greenland is currently under the Danish rule. Now, a few key players are in this criteria from the United States. Now, Jeff Landry, who is the governor of Louisiana, he was appointed as a special envoy to Greenland in December 2025. And he is supposed to be leading the acquisition talks going forward. Apart from that, Marco Rubio, who is the Secretary of State, he has been tasked with meeting Danish and the officials from Greenland to cover up the misunderstandings between the two regions. Now, it is also important to note that just 2 days ago, Marco Rubio, the US Secretary of State, said and he confirmed that a scheduled meeting is supposed to take place next week between the US and Danish as well as officials from Greenland. Now, Greenland's foreign minister is seeking an urgent meeting with Marco Rubio, which Rubio has confirmed will take place next week. Now, there have been comments that have come from US Vice President J.D. Vance today. So, Vance says, he has stated in an interview that Denmark and Europe have not done a good job of securing Greenland. Vance has explicitly told the European leaders to take the US president seriously, or else the US is going to have to do something about it. Now, this shifts a narrative from a request to buy to a demand for security. Now, instead of requesting now, US is demanding. Apart from that, we have comments coming in from from Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, who stated that she agrees with Trump on Venezuela, but she strongly disagrees with him on the Greenland issue. Now, Meloni has also ruled out that any US military action to seize Greenland. She said that she does not believe Washington will launch an operation to take control of the Arctic island, as I mentioned earlier that Caroline Leavitt had earlier stated. Now, Meloni has warned that such a move would have serious consequences for NATO's unity and stability. Apart from that, a joint statement from Britain, France and Germany has been released, and they have reaffirmed their support and said that Greenland belongs to its people. Now, this is basically how the US has shifted its focus from Venezuela to the Arctic region of Greenland. Over to you, Kriti.
All right, thanks very much, Meher, for sharing all those updates with us and our viewers.